Tonight, a father believes the remains of his daughter, who went missing nearly a year ago, may have been found.
And today, investigators tell us they were back out at a site in Montgomery County where remains were found earlier this week.
There's a particular kind of dread that only a parent can understand. The kind that seeps in when a child doesn't come home, when a text goes unanswered, when the phone stops ringing. It starts as a whisper in the back of the mind, easily dismissed. Maybe she's busy. Maybe her battery died. But then, the minutes stretch into hours, and the whisper turns into something darker, something that wraps itself around your throat and refuses to let go. For Kevin Johnson, that nightmare became a reality when his daughter, Felicia Johnson, vanished without a trace. Felicia Marie Johnson was a daughter, a sister, and a young woman brimming with dreams. She grew up in San Diego, California, a city of endless coastlines and warm breezes, but her aspirations stretched far beyond the Pacific shores. She wanted more. Her heart was set on modeling and entertainment, and she believed she could make it. Those who knew Felicia described her as vibrant and full of life, an ambitious spirit who carried warmth wherever she went. She had a contagious smile, an unshakable determination, and a love for her family that kept her grounded no matter where life took her. Her father, Kevin Johnson, had always been her rock, supporting her through thick and thin. When Felicia announced her trip to Houston, he was apprehensive, but encouraged her nonetheless. It was supposed to be a short stay, a chance to celebrate her birthday, land a job at CoverGirl's nightclub, and enjoy new experiences before heading back home. Instead, the trip turned into a haunting mystery, one that would unravel into a chilling tale of deception, horror, and an unspeakable crime. Felicia was never the type to vanish without a trace. She had plans, goals she was actively working toward. She called home regularly, always staying connected with those who mattered most. But when her calls stopped and her texts went unanswered, a gnawing fear crept into her father's heart. Something was wrong. Deep down, he knew this wasn't just a missed check-in. Something terrible had happened. April 15, 2022 should have been a night of joy, a moment of adventure. But the events leading up to that night tell a more ominous story. Earlier that day, Felicia had been in contact with friends and family, sharing her excitement about her plans in Houston. She had already been in the city for a short while, exploring job opportunities and enjoying her time there. She had expressed an interest in working at CoverGirl's nightclub, a well-known venue that attracted hopeful entertainers looking to establish themselves. That evening, she made her way to the club, expecting to discuss potential employment. She was dressed for the occasion, prepared to make an impression, unaware that this night would change everything. The neon lights of the city glowed in the distance. The music pulsed through the streets, and Felicia, full of hope, stepped into the unknown. She spent some time at the club, engaging with those around her. But as the night wore on, and the club's doors finally closed behind her, fate took a cruel turn. Her Uber never arrived. Stranded outside, she faced a moment of uncertainty. She pulled out her phone, possibly trying to arrange for another ride. And then, a stranger appeared, a man who offered her a ride. She hesitated, but the night was late, the city unfamiliar, and this man's offer seemed like the best alternative. Felicia got into the car, and that was the last time anyone saw her alive. The silence was unbearable. Felicia had always been in touch with her father, even while traveling, but now, no calls, no messages. Days passed. Kevin Johnson's growing fear turned to desperation. Something was wrong. His daughter had vanished into thin air. Then came the discovery that turned dread into horror. a blood-stained phone, discarded near Bear Creek Pioneers Park. The lifeline that connected Felicia to the world was now a grim clue, an ominous message that something unspeakable had happened. The police moved fast. Surveillance footage, phone records, digital breadcrumbs. A puzzle began to take shape, but the pieces formed a picture no one wanted to see. The nightmare deepened as detectives uncovered a dark digital trail, one that led straight to the man responsible for Felicia's disappearance. His name was Chukwuebuka Nwobodo, a 28-year-old Houston resident with no apparent ties to Felicia, until investigators began peeling back the layers of his life. Felicia and Nwobodo had connected through Snapchat. He had offered her $500 for a meetup. To Felicia, it might have seemed like an innocent exchange, but to Nwobodo, it was something else entirely. Investigators traced Felicia's last known location to Nwobodo's apartment. Surveillance cameras captured his car, the door shutting behind them, the ominous sense that she would never leave that place again. Her phone went silent after that. And then, the internet searches surfaced. Some killers leave behind footprints, others leave something far more chilling. Search histories. Authorities uncovered Nwobodo's Google searches, and they read like pages from a serial killer's handbook. He researched ways to kill without getting caught, how to dispose of a body, and how to remove bloodstains. His Amazon order history was just as damning. He had purchased saws, trash bags, and cleaning supplies shortly after Felicia's disappearance. Blood. Felicia's blood. The search ended there, but Felicia was nowhere to be found. Authorities moved to arrest Nwobodo, but the monster had already vanished. He was charged with Felicia's murder in June 2022, but he was gone before he could be handcuffed. Law enforcement agencies launched an exhaustive search, scouring records, interviewing acquaintances, tracking his last known movements. Flyers with his face were plastered across the state. Alerts went out to neighboring regions. But despite the widespread efforts, he had seemingly disappeared without a trace. The FBI joined the hunt, amplifying the urgency of the case. Anonymous tips trickled in, but none led to his capture. Investigators dug into his past, searching for anything that might indicate where he could have gone. His last digital footprint was a chilling reminder of his sinister intent: searches about disappearing, evading law enforcement, and how fugitives survive on the run.
Suspect's old address on Windchase Boulevard. Police say the suspect picked her up from that location and took her to his new residence on Richmond Avenue. On Thursday, police saying they found evidence that leads them to believe she was murdered.
About a month into the investigation, on the 13th of May, authorities finally managed to bring Chukwuebuka Nwobodo into custody. It was a moment that should have marked a turning point, a chance to ensure that he never had the opportunity to slip away. During a search of his vehicle and personal belongings, detectives uncovered deeply disturbing evidence. His phone contained photos of what appeared to be a dismembered female body. The horrifying discovery was more than just a missing person case. It was proof of something much darker. It was evidence of murder, and maybe something even worse. Yet, despite these alarming findings, authorities were forced to release Nwobodo due to insufficient evidence tying the remains definitively to Felicia. Legal constraints and the absence of a conclusive link prevented them from holding him. It was a decision that would haunt investigators and Felicia's family as they watched the man they believed to be responsible walk free. It was a devastating setback, and it gave Nwobodo the opportunity he needed to vanish. His release proved to be a critical mistake. As soon as he was let go, he disappeared without a trace, leaving authorities scrambling in frustration. It was only later, as more evidence surfaced and Felicia's remains were discovered, that the reality of what had been lost in that moment became painfully clear.
Whenever they release her, then I will be able to have a service for her and pay her the respects that she needs.
Felicia's father, Kevin Johnson, went on to become a relentless voice of justice. He took to social media, the news, and any platform that would listen, pleading for someone, anyone, to step forward with information. He spoke about Felicia, about the young woman she was, about the pain of losing her in such a cruel and unimaginable way. His interviews were heartbreaking, filled with a father's grief, but also with unwavering determination. The days turned into weeks. The weeks stretched into months, but the community refused to stay silent. Vigils were held, candles lit in her memory, and marches organized to demand justice. Local activists and concerned citizens took to social media, flooding timelines with Felicia's name, ensuring she was not forgotten. Billboards with her picture loomed over highways, each one a stark reminder that a young woman had been stolen from her loved ones, and her killer remained free. As the search for Felicia stretched on, volunteers combed through wooded areas, desperately hoping to find something, anything, that might lead to answers. Some traveled from out of state to join the effort, driven by a shared determination to bring closure to Felicia's family. The heartbreak of each dead end did not deter them. They pushed forward, clinging to the hope that their persistence would one day reveal the truth. The days turned into weeks. The weeks stretched into months. And then, in February 2023, fate struck once more.
Tonight, a father believes the remains of his daughter, who went missing nearly a year ago, may have been found.
And today, investigators tell us they were back out at a site in Montgomery County where remains were found earlier this week. Grace White joins us now with what she's learned. Grace?
Those remains in Montgomery County have still not officially been identified. The justice of the peace there told us tonight he was on scene Tuesday when skeletal remains were found, along with a trash bag that's now been collected as evidence.
A Texas Department of Transportation worker was clearing debris near Sam Houston National Forest when he noticed something ODD in the brush, a scattering of bones. The elements had done their work. Time had erased much, but not everything. Among the remains was a jawbone, intact enough for forensic experts to make a match. Felicia. She had been discarded like an afterthought, left to decay in the wilderness. The truth had finally surfaced, but it was a truth that no one was ready to accept. Even with Felicia's remains found, her story is not over. Chukwuebuka Nwobodo is still out there. The man who orchestrated this nightmare, who plotted and carried out this horror, is walking free. Maybe he's changed his name. Maybe he's blending in, hiding in plain sight, waiting for his next victim. The hunt continues. Every day that passes is another day justice is denied. Another day a killer breathes free air. Felicia Johnson's case is more than just a tragedy. It's a warning. Evil doesn't always look like the boogeyman in the movies. Sometimes it hides behind a smile, in an ordinary apartment, behind a computer screen. Felicia's story deserves an ending. Her father deserves answers. The world deserves to see justice served.
We will not rest until you have been arrested. We want the suspect to know that we're going to look for you night and day, brother, until you are arrested. We want the suspect to know that the no-snitch policy will never protect you in our...
Because until the day that Chukwuebuka Nwobodo is caught, Felicia's story remains unfinished, and a predator still walks free. Until next time, stay aware, stay vigilant, and remember, justice never sleeps. If you found this story compelling, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another deep dive into true crime. Your engagement helps keep stories like Felicia's in the public eye, ensuring that justice remains a priority. Share this video, Spread awareness. And let's work together to bring Felicia the justice she deserves.